Japan, the Skyline is held in high regard as a racing machine with many championship successes to its credit. This is the Sugo track and a Japanese championship race. Saloon or touring car races draw big crowds here, and who can blame them, with so many high-performance cars that are closely based on road-going models. Some of the other models add to the attraction also. The Skyline is a popular choice amongst Japanese touring car teams. In recent years, one of the most successful cars has been the Falken Skyline. It uses the R34 engine in a relatively mild state of tune. Many private owners run cars with more than the 500 bhp the race car pushes out. But it's the torque of the race engine that distinguishes it. 400 pound-feet is high by any standard, and it gives the car tremendous growth out of corners, even against cars with more top-end horsepower. These two Skylines are pretty well matched, making for a good race for the flag. In Europe, Falken R33 and R34 Skylines have competed since 1999 in the famous Nürburgring 24-hour race, running as high as third place in 2003 before a rare clutch failure kept the team off the podium. Following the 2003 Nürburgring race, we were given a rare opportunity to drive the Falken car here at the Ring GP circuit during a private test day organised by the tyre company. The 24-hour race utilises both the old and new Nürburgring circuits, linked together, making a very varied and challenging 15-mile circuit for the 210 teams who take part. Being so closely based on the road car is probably in the GTR's favour in the 24-hour race, with such a contrast of track surfaces to deal with. Here, lapping the new GP circuit, the Skyline is easy and predictable to drive with a very smooth power delivery, just like the standard road car in fact, but with a lot more oomph and even better brakes. Dirk Scheusman has won the 24-hour race before and has driven the Falken Skyline R34 car here on several occasions. Who better then to ask about the race car and the differences between it and the standard version?
I think the biggest difference is really the engine, because basically it's a Group N car, improved, obviously. But the engine we have is a 2.8 liters instead of a 2.6, and that gives a much wider power band. So it's much easier to exit out of a corner and to build up speed at lower revs. And in a 24-hour race, of course, you try to avoid high revs all the time. Then suspension-wise, of course, the car is tuned for the Nordschleife, because the Grand Prix track, which is very flat and fairly slow in fact, is only a small percentage of the total lap time. So on the Nordschleife you have so many bumps, and the main thing is that the car would not be upset on the bumps. So we tune the suspension in such a manner that we can cope with the bumps, and that's actually the only difference, because gearbox is the same. Of course, tires and brakes are different, just to last much longer, to do the distance. Another difference is actually that four-wheel steering has been eliminated from the car. It's a fact that four-wheel steering makes the car easier to drive, but not faster. So that means that we could gain some weight by taking the system out and having the rear wheels fixed, so the toe is actually fixed. Another feature on the car is we have four-wheel drive, and it's an electronic system, it's an intelligent system, and from the cockpit we can actually decide how much torque is going to the front wheels. So depending on weather conditions we can change the balance of the car, especially accelerating out of the corner. We can make it oversteer more or less depending on the level of grip we have, but the system is basically the same as in the road car. I think it's a competitive car, it's forgiving to drive, but it also has some points which are maybe not so strong, which is top speed, because the aerodynamics, the CD is not as good as some other cars, so we lack some top speed, and fuel consumption is reasonably high, so we have to refuel a little bit more than some other teams. So that means that I think in the dry it would be very hard to win the 24-hour race, even though we were third the whole night this year, 2003. However, I think in wet conditions, as I know no other car that exits as fast as the Skyline out of a corner in the wet, I think in wet conditions we could well be a surprise and maybe even win the race. The very specific feature of the car is actually the intelligent four-wheel drive. It means on a straight it's actually 100% rear-wheel drive. There's a big computer getting data from the speed of every wheel, steering wheel angle, yaw rate, and there's G-sensors, so the system knows what the car is doing in the situation. Now, if in a corner there's some oversteer, the system will register that and will send some torque through a hydraulic pump operating a multi-clutch to the front diff, and that is actually the reason why the car is so efficient at the exit of the corner. It means you always have optimum distribution between front and rear diff accelerating out of a corner.
In race trim or a standard road car, the Skyline GTR is an amazing vehicle with performance as its hallmark. What better machines for our visiting band of owners to head home in after their Nürburgring experience?